everybody. So, for those of you who chose what I call the shop shot, um, I'm going to try to just bring this through how I received it. So, I'm really going free form with these readings this week and not involving the energy of cards. The energy of Scorpio is always intense, and it teaches in a way like nothing else. It's why it's one of my favorite signs. It is absolutely robust in getting down to sort of the ground level or like sub ground level to get at some truths of who we are. And I'm even feeling that in terms of being a messenger on my channel here. Um, and so my team, my higher wisdom, my high spirit, as it came through to me this morning, um, is really wanting to share some of these, what I can only call blocks of thought. They come to me sometimes as I'm sleeping, or oftentimes I sort of work through the details of it, of the thought, as I'm driving to work. So, anyway, for those of you who chose the shop, and I am spelling that very purposely as Shoppe. And when we think of that spelling of a shop, we're thinking of a unique marketplace, a unique little cubby on a street. And I'm sure we've all been in those kinds of shops. We're walking along and something about it makes us catch our eye over there, and that we just feel compelled to go into it. And what I was given was this idea of thinking about our life literally as you in your human form. You have a name, you have a childhood, you have a very unique fingerprint, you have a body form, you have features, you have your personality, you have the work you do, you have the passions, all of these parts that make you incredibly unique. To think about that as a shop, a very unique shop. And in this way, when we start to think about ourselves that way, consider the fact that everybody else has a shop too. So what I was being given is that as you're thinking about your life as a shop, to think about if you were actually running your own business, you put your own thought and intention into that business plan, if you will. So when you're setting up, you have an idea to have a really unique shop, you have to put thought into, okay, so what do I want it, and I feel this is the most important question, what do I want it to feel like when people enter my shop? They open the door, and what does it smell like? What does it immediately look like? What feeling do I want to emote in people when they cross that threshold? And then what is my product mix? What type of products do you have? That says a lot about the passions of the shopkeeper. Because shops are obviously a mirror to what is passionate within the shopkeeper, and they put everything they have into it, and oftentimes it's this really eclectic mix of things, but maybe your shop is really dedicated in one particular area. Maybe it's on riflery or something, or certain kinds of artwork, or you think about shops, there's any number of combinations there. So the product mix is part of it. And then kind of what do you do to entice people to come in? What is it that your shop exudes? And in terms of business, that might actually be advertising or whatever. But it's really, when you think about this in terms of your life, what is it that you're exuding to allow people to engage with you, the shop, the very unique shop? and who are you looking to attract? Because as a communications executive, I've been doing marketing work for over 20 years. A key part of it is, in any good marketing, is defining your audience and then creating outward bound communications in different forms that allow the right people to come through your door. Because you don't necessarily just want a barrage of people coming at you. You want really good interactions and therefore people who will buy, so to speak. So let's put this to your life. You want to engage by what you're exuding. That's your advertising, so to speak. You want to engage the people that you feel will buy the products that you are passionate about, that will engage with you in a way that feels satisfying to you. Okay? Like, and your product set, really, the way you can think about that is the way you set up your life. You know, what does your work, it's really the 12 houses of your astrology chart that makes up the product set. It's, you know, in terms of your work, what are you focused on with that, and why do you do it, and why is that meaningful to you, and how do you set up your home, and what are your principles for your home life, and how do you deal with finances, and how do you like going about that? Everybody's got a different method for finances. For example, your very vitality. um, how do you take care of your body? How do you nutritionally support yourself, and through exercise? And you know, your personality. I think over time, our personality really does shift a bit. We become more mature in our thinking, and different parts of us start to shine out as they're ready to really come forward. So, really, the product set is those 12 houses of the astrological chart, which all sort of highlight on different parts of your life. You can think about that as your product set, so to speak. And understand, I think the most important point of what my team was trying to communicate to me is that you can change, you can morph, you can shape. That's probably the most important word. You can shape how you want your product mix to look. Maybe you try out, you're trying out, you know, I'll give my own example of, you know, I used to be really focused on my corporate work, and that was everything to me. I was so focused on that. It really ruled what I would consider my product mix. You know, if somebody came in my shop, let's say definitely 10 years ago, if they came in my shop, they would feel very much a Virgo kind of energy. Very much like, okay, I have pads that are to-do list, and they've got little check boxes on them. And I've got little boxes over here where you can like take stuff and you can organize it. It's like one of those organization kinds of shops. That's what I used to have 10 years ago. And I loved categorizing everything, and like, if it didn't fit, you'd find that out in my dumpster, out in back of my shop, because it had to fit. Okay? And everything in my life was about organization, was about, I have to have a perfect box for this to go in. And I liked, like in my shop, you would find probably some beautiful wrapping paper and ribbons, but they would all be very closely coordinated. They would all be according to a theme, and I would never allow anything to be like wonky of, oh, mix and match. Oh no, not in this girl's shop. You get the set, and everything goes together, and this is how we do it. It's like this and like this, and there would be an order. Like, people would come in my shop, and they would walk. I would have it set up so they'd have to look at this first and then go to this. And there's no like just wandering around. Like, it would be like a guided tour almost. I'm saying this in jest, but I'm trying to give you an example of that and understanding that according to my life experience that then happened. And then my spiritual path really started taking off when I took my first Reiki class. And then I don't know why I was guided to work with the horses out of nowhere. I don't know why, because I don't own a horse. I don't ever want to own a horse. I don't ride. I haven't ridden since I was 12. That's a calling. I knew I had to work with them. So I was like magnetized to them. And that just took me off because then they started teaching me things. And horse energy, if nothing else, is about freedom. It is about wide open, just and vulnerability, and just allowing yourself to really let go and run wild. Let go. Um, that's true horse energy, is that unbridled spirit. So you can see how then, in terms of the shop, the 10 years ago from me has been shifting over time. And about 5 years ago, it really took a massive turn, or actually 6 years ago, took a massive turn as I was having experiences and I was following through on my intuition. I was allowing my intuition to guide me. And what that means is the people that were coming into my shop, because of what I started to exude that no longer fit in those little boxes anymore, the people coming across my threshold were coming in with like different products and saying, geez, well, that's nice, but I really wish that I could mix and match these. And for instance, like the horse energy that built in me was part of my wisdom that came through, and like, well, that wouldn't be so bad. How about offering people a little freedom? But most of all, how about offering myself a little freedom? So I started to come out of this place of needing to stock my shelves with everything that organized life to the nth detail, to a place of much more freedom and much more morphing of experimentation and being the chemist in the lab and trying some things out and not holding myself so stringently to there being one formula that would indicate success, but actually trying different things. So my shop kind of went through a metamorphosis because of the people coming across the threshold. They were coming in, but they were giving me different ideas because I was open, because became open enough through my life experience. This is why people coming across your threshold, that's how we create a successful shop. And it depends. How much traffic are you getting across your threshold? I was totally in my shop and loving what I was experiencing in terms of, ooh, I've got everything all organized and I've got ribbons and I've got to-do lists and oh my God, I loved that. But I was like the only one in my shop. I was sitting there like, ooh, what could I organize now? And I was driving my family crazy, no doubt. I have a wonderful family, but I'm sure I was driving them nuts. But it was enjoyable. But then I realized, like, I'm not supposed to be just doing this for myself. In a good shop, of course, you want customers. And what that means is you want to relate to there are people out there who have something that you have something that helps them to feel more complete, that helps them to grow their shop and their ideas and their inspirations. Like when you go in a really interesting, for me it'd be a metaphysical shop, of course, you go in an interesting shop and you're like, whoa, I never thought about that, and it sparks something within you. That's the whole idea behind shops. Okay, and the fact that you can change it, you can metamorphosize all of that over time. Okay, as you're experiencing people coming into your shop, ding ding goes the bell, and here's another person. and they help to reflect back to you how resonant or not your product mix is. And if you have such, I'm sure you've been in shops sometime in your life. Have you been in ones where you go in and it's like, what the heck is this? I mean, it's like the most random mix of things, but there's nothing that ties it together. Now, think about the 12 houses of your astrology. These are all the parts of your life, your personality, your finances, your home, how you communicate and how you learn, and what comes out of your mouth, and what is the tone of that, and work, and how you network with friends, and everything is there. How you deal with death, all of it. How your spiritual self too. So if all those pieces of your product mix are all over the board, people don't know what to expect when they walk in. That is not a cohesive product set. You can have a real diverse mix, but can you see that there kind of has to be a guiding light? This would be like for a business, that would be a mission vision kind of a statement. What are you, again, I'm going to ask you, what are you looking for people to feel when they come in your shop? What do you want them to step away with? That to me feels like the most important part of this block of thought that I was given. And this is coming up for a reason at this time, because maybe you are in the process of needing to really be attentive to your business plan. Maybe it's time for a change, or maybe it's time for that super eclectic, totally unconnected part of your business plan, your product mix. If it's all over the place, maybe it's time to sit down and truly do some work with your mind and your heart around, okay, first of all, what is it that I want people? What is my mission and vision? What do I want people to feel and to experience and to be inspired by when they come across that threshold into my shop? Like literally, think about it in terms of what are the colors that people would see. It's just helpful to get this a little more cemented in your mind by thinking of it as a shop. What is the smell in the air? What are the colors that you look around and you see? What is that product mix that you are offering? And is there a market for that? Because the whole thing with Earth, life on Earth, is our soul's greatest destiny for every single one of us is in how we rub up against each other. That is called the descendant point in your astrology. And that point is it kicks off the 7th house, which is our relationships with others. That is no mistake. That's why this shop idea is so important, because successful shops require interactions. That's what makes them successful. So, how successful are you being in having interactions with other people? And that includes online, people that you never will meet in your life. How you take in information on what you choose to look at on TV or through radio or through videos, what have you. How enriching are those experiences? Is the advertising, so to speak, that you're putting out there through all these things about your life, how you communicate, how you behave in the workplace and what you choose to do for work, how you are at home, how you are in your relationships, how you are around difficult things like when you have to borrow money or when there's a death in your family. Oh, it's everything. It's all your advertising. It's everything that you're exuding out there about the product mix that is you, that is your shop. Is that bringing in what I would call, I think, members of your tribe? That's not quite it though, because my team is really guiding me away from the word tribe. It's more just satisfying customer relationships. When you think about a little specialty shop, I bet you anything that there is a very strong customer mix that is, it helps to support that. I even think about it with our local pub, and I've talked with the owner many times, and he said it's the local population that keeps us going so well all these years. And little specialty shops, it speaks to people. So that's, if we think about that in terms of how our whole, existence could be categorized. This is just a fun idea to play with. You could actually get a really beautiful journal and start to literally write out a business plan, and start with your mission and vision, and start with what do I want people to feel when they enter the shop that is my life? Because we are interacting with people all the time. And if you have that as a guiding mission, and then everything in your life kind of supports that as your product mix, people will clearly feel a resonance with you that either will attract them or repel them. And over time, I mean, this has been part of my metamorphosis, particularly 5-6 years ago, where I switched from the super organized shop into totally a metaphysical shop. That's a big surprise, I bet. So, really thinking about how does all that come together, and then how do you portray that? So, who I am, even in my corporate work, people began to see a change in me. And I all of a sudden wasn't as willing to get down in the dirt and to muck around down there and to and to be looking at others through these critical eyes that I used to have, that, they aren't performing at the level that I thought was appropriate. But that was all changed over time by some very special angels that came into my shop and helped to show me a different way, helped to show me, geez, maybe this over here could be a good product to add in that might give people a little more choice. That, and in the end, for me, it gave not only myself more freedom, again, horse energy, big here, more freedom for myself, but more freedom in how I looked at other people. That's been the biggest shift in my shop. And so when you enter my shop, I want to inspire you. I want to make you feel the fairy godmother energy that exists within every single one of us. I want you to feel like you can make your dreams come true. I want you to feel like you can change and morph and expand into any area that you want. It's all there for you. And whether you want some metaphysical aspects to your shop, that doesn't matter to me. Like I said, you could have a riflery shop. Anything you want. That's what I love about this concept, is that you have the ability to form that into whatever you are wanting, because you want it. And think about a shopkeeper when they have a very strong product mix and they arrange it in a way that just draws you in. Even if you're not into whatever is in that shop, there is a way that is, the energy is exuded that draws you in. And that's all that that is being offered by this analogy, is how resonant are you in what you're portraying, in how all these outlets in your life, and how might it be time for you to sit down and really think through all these aspects of your life, and might you start to shift and be more, this is very important, be more intentional in how you choose to set up your shop. the whole reason this analogy came through is that in many of my card readings over many years now, I have used the term watch your own shop. And another way of saying that in a very scorpionic way, in this Scorpio energy we're currently in, is mind your own damn business. And that, my team is like, yup, you need to say that, because that's the other component to this, is if you are so into somebody else's shop and you're going in and you're like, okay, so here's what I think you need to do because I think this would draw in the right people. And you're like so focused on setting up somebody else's shop and telling them when it's not working. This is a, for example, you're so focused on their shop. Who the heck is looking at your shop? People are showing up at the door and they're looking in and they see stuff in there, but there are cobwebs, the lights are off, the door is locked. Every time they show up, they're kind of intrigued, but the door is shut. So they're like, okay. And eventually they just give up. And so the interactions, and what I mean by that is the satisfying and very resonant interactions with other people stop. And you start feeling like, shit, does anybody see me? Does anybody understand me? Does anybody even care? And believe me, I have been there. My shop has been closed many times for long periods of time. So I'm not being at all judgmental. I'm totally relating to these ideas that are coming through. But be aware. Again, this is you being intentional with your life. And you saying, okay, I really want to focus on my own experience here because it matters in who comes across my threshold. Who do I attract into my life based on the vibe, the energy, the literal vibration that I'm putting out there? And how aligned are all of those pieces of who I am in the overall mission and vision of who I want to be, i.e., my shop? And again, it's putting intention behind your life. It's putting the ability to morph things and to shape. That's really important. When you think about a shop, there's tremendous passion available in the shopkeeper in order to lay it on the line and put it out there. And so it's also having compassion for the fact that other people are setting up their shops and they're not always clear on their product mix. And you might be an angel that comes across their threshold, ding ding, and you come to their shop. You might go in there and say, yeah, I like what you have here, but let me know if you ever decide to get this. Or, I went in somebody else's shop and they had this set of I don't know why this is coming up, but like tea, this kind of a tea holder like that you put leaves in, and I really loved that because it didn't add this weird metallic taste to my tea. So, just let me know if you ever decide to go down that path. And you might offer an inspiration to somebody else for their shop, but you're not going in every day and saying, hey, you got that yet? Have you decided to get off your ass and get the right kind of products? You're not doing that. You're just saying, oh, I went to this other place and they had this. I'm wondering, maybe that would be good to add to your mix. But truly saying it like just an idea. Those are what I call angels that come into my shop, that open me up to other ideas, which often then morph into something else. The greatest of the angels for me has been the horses, because they open me up to this sense of freedom. And when you experience my shop, my intention is always to offer more what I call wild freedom to people. I want you to feel unbridled when you have any interaction with me. And I want to exude that in myself. in terms of trying different things, in terms of being able to morph into whatever I feel called to morph into. So it gives you flexibility with this model, and to understand that you too can change. You can change it when you want. And just be aware that you think about a shop, and if it's constantly changing, people might come in one day and they see a metaphysical shop, and then they're like, oh, that's cool. So they'll come back the next week and you've changed it to a riflery shop. And they're like, wait, what just happened here? So be aware if also you're changing it so often that people can't get a feel of your vibration. That's what's going on energetically. They can't get a feel for you because they never know what they're going to find when they come through the door. And it can be a little off-putting, and then if it doesn't align, they're like, I'm out of here. So if it's all based on what kind of interactions are you having. Is it time for a product mix? Is it time for a closer look at the business plan? Is it time for you to consciously set up a business plan in your mind? Okay? So I hope this is helpful, and I'd love any feedback that people have and any epiphanies. It's a really fun way to think about life because you can really exert truly an entrepreneurial spirit, which I feel is so invigorating to many of us, in that this is your own experiment. This is your shop, and it's yours to mold and shape. And also, very important here, to have an understanding in your heart that everybody has a shop, and sometimes people need to shut it down. Sometimes people are getting clear on their product mix. Sometimes it goes bankrupt. And to just have compassion for that, because we're all trying to set up our shop and we're not always clear. And sometimes, especially in this season of Scorpio, is a great time to kind of get down to the basics and say, is this who I want to be anymore? And is it time for me to rethink this? I think that's why all this is coming through. And I have tremendous respect for your shop. And just know that the more in line you create that product mix, and the more your awareness centers around the mission and vision, that what feeling do you want people to have when they step through the door that is your life? And is it consistent? And is it aligned? Is the product mix that they look at, is there something that hangs together? Because if you're off and firing off in different directions, they won't know how to interact with you. And understand that interaction is the soul's greatest hope in this life. Our interactions with others is how we grow as a soul. That's the real deal. It isn't about how much money you make. It isn't about how many toys you accumulate. It isn't about having the perfect partner or the perfect house or the perfect kid. It's about how much growth and experience you get, and how joyful and enriching are those experiences, which is all contained in this idea of a shop. So have fun with it. It's not meant to be heavy, it's meant to be uplifting, it's meant to be inspirational, which is my hope for you as a messenger. So I look forward to your feedback on this, and have a good time setting up that shop and getting clear on your business plan. Go for it.